Hello, my multifamily friends. This is Caroline Ferguson with Southwest Utility Solutions. Welcome back to You Asked, We Answered. I am your certified question answerer for this series that we are doing, and today's question is in regards to Public Utility Commission complaints. Gosh, I don't like talking about PUC complaints. I feel like it's just bad juju. I don't want to attract PUC complaints. I don't want my customers, my clients to deal with PUC complaints, but the reality of multifamily is we deal with them. And oh goodness, do we deal with them. If a resident has a claim they're gonna make, they are going to make it, as we all know. So today we're going to talk about how do we handle Public Utility Commission complaints in terms of like water billing. If your community bills back for utilities, if you are billing through, passing through water charges, if your community is sub-metered, if you are on, you're doing like a RUBS program, which is the two ways that you can bill back water. Understanding how you handle PUC complaints is very important. Very, very, very important. For the sake of this video, just so you guys do know, because I'm going to go through some of the TCEQ rules, I am referencing some notes. So if you see me looking up, like, Carolyn, what are you looking at? I'm looking at notes, okay? So first, let's talk about how would you even know if you have a PUC complaint floating around somewhere? They'll let you know. If a resident files a complaint with the Public Utility Commission, the Public Utility Commission is required to let you know that they received a complaint. Okay? So normally it's in writing. You'll get something mailed to you. So check your mail. You'll get a call, you'll get an email, you'll get something from the PUC letting you know, hey, guess what? Susie Q in Unit 101's got an issue with their bill. They reached out to us, and now you are legally responsible to respond. And that's really what those next steps are. If somebody files a legit complaint with the PUC and the PUC reaches back out to you, you are required to respond. This is normally a good time to get your utility management partner involved, just kind of as an expert when it comes to how the bills are being created for you. Bringing in a partner, if they're available to help you, is normally to your benefit. It adds an additional air of legitimacy and validity to how things are being done for billing for your residents. And the PUC appreciates it, right? They appreciate you consulting an expert and using an expert when it comes to your monthly processes. Why would you have a PUC complaint? Well, we all know why. Why you're going to have a PUC complaint because a resident's not happy with their bill, right? And the normal conversation that normally takes place, well, Miss Susie Q, you got a larger service period this month, or Miss Susie Q, looks like you've actually used quite a bit more water. Miss Susie Q, you've got 4 people living in your unit as part of a RUBS program. Since we bill back based on square footage and occupancy, you've got more people, you've got a higher bill. Those explanations on the surface level, which is what we know to explain, is not satisfactory. And so they've decided they're going to take it upon themselves to go seek out counsel by going to the PUC. So that's why if you've received a PUC complaint in terms of water billing, that's most of the time why. So what do you have to do? How do we handle these PUC complaints? Well, if the PUC has reached out to you to notify you of a complaint, step 1 is you have to do something. You cannot, as much as sometimes we'd like to, you cannot ignore PUC complaints. You are by law required to respond. There are lots and lots and lots of layers of protection for renters because they have to have people representing them. These are not their communities. These are not technically their permanent homes. There are other people involved who are facilitating their living environment, and so there have to be ways for them to seek out help when they don't think it's being run to par with what the standard is or what the standard should be. Okay, so you have to respond. You can't ignore a PUC complaint. This is one of those ways that renters are protected. You have to follow up in writing. A phone call here is not sufficient. You have to, in writing, respond to the PUC, letting them know that you've addressed this resident's concern and what you've done to address said concern. So historically, when my customers kind of roped me into helping them handle PUC complaints or just PUC issues, what happens after we're notified of the complaint is that we type up a very formal letter. We type this up addressing both the PUC and the resident. Most of the time we are putting in writing what our original conversation was with this resident, whether that's, we explained to Miss Susie Q that, she does live in, a unit that's X number of square feet in size. We're reporting this many occupants. We've confirmed that this is the correct number of occupants. This is the total water bill for this month. This is how this water bill is allocated out. Here are the common area deductions. This is the percentage that Miss Susie Q is legally responsible for per her lease contract. And thus, this is why she was billed. We put that all in writing. We include what that, earlier conversation was, and we back it up. Validity is a big thing. Is it actually signed off in the lease? And unfortunately, it's just a part of this industry. Sometimes stuff is missed in the lease. I'm going to tell you what, if you have accidentally missed something while getting a lease signed and you have a resident that's fighting you because of it, you're probably going to lose, because that lease is gold. You got to make sure that lease is filled out and signed correctly. It's imperative to conversing with the PUC. And then we send it, right? We send it. We normally will drop a physical copy in the mail. Sometimes we'll overnight it to the office of the PUC, like where that original message was sent to us from. We will mail a copy to the resident's address. We will email a copy to everybody as well. We just cover all of our bases. The follow-up, that's really what matters here. It's the follow-up, right? Let's also very quickly go over, what does the tenant have a right to? So outside of the Public Utility Commission, kind of the TCEQ put together, and I'm talking in terms of Texas also, but they put together a list of things that the resident has a right to in terms of water billing. The same applies for, communities that are doing allocated billing and sub-metered communities. The data is a little different that you would share with them, but generally speaking, the concept and the idea of what they have a right to seeing is the same. So this is where I'm going to reference my notes here. So if a renter feels like one of these rules, a water billing rule has been violated, they can contact the PUC to file a complaint, and the PUC rules that these are the things that the tenant has a right to seeing should they request. They are allowed to know how you're allocating out water. This is also another great time to get your utility manager or utility management partner involved, so they can very specifically break down how water is being billed back. So a copy of how the allocation is being done, a copy of the allocation rules within the PUC handbook, and I keep a copy of all that data readily available to talk to people. So if maybe you're dealing with something like this, or you're trying to be proactive, you can reach out to me and I can send you that specific language, like the specific location of the water allocation rules in the PUC handbook. Happy to do so. You just would need to let me know. A copy of the water utility's current rate card. So wherever you're getting your water from, they have a right to know how the city is billing you for water, and that can be found online. You have to be able to offer them suggestions for conserving water. They have a right to seeing the total property water bill. They have a right to seeing the historical collection of the total property's water bill. Let's see. They have a right to know basically how much of that water bill you're billing back. What else? Allocation is a big deal. So they have a right to know how stuff is being allocated, but they also have a right to knowing the specific components of the allocation equation. So if you're telling a resident, you're receiving a bill based on occupancy and square footage, well, they have a right to know, okay, well, what's the specific square footage and what are the occupancy numbers that you're reporting. Okay, so they have a right to quite a bit. For sub-metered communities, they have a right to their meter read data, they have a right to their historical usage data, they have a right to the property's usage data, and they can also call the city and get this data. When a resident requests this of your office, though, like your on-site office, you have to follow up within a certain amount of time. Otherwise, they legally are within their power and right to file a legit PUC complaint. I think the turnaround time, if you've got it in the office, you can push them off for 24 hours and kind of get all your ducks in a row and present data to them in 24 hours. If you don't have the data in the office, the data that they have a right to have, like maybe water bills go to corporate, you don't get them on site, I think you've got 48 hours to get that data, assuming you don't already have it. If you have the data, you have a day to get it organized. If you don't have the data, I think you have 2 days to go find it. If you don't find it in that satisfactory time, they are within their right and power to file a legit complaint. So PUC complaints are not fun. Things to remember: always follow up. Do not throw PUC complaints in the trash. You can get in a ton of trouble if you do that. Always follow up on PUC complaints with the resident and the PUC. And don't withhold information from the tenant. I promise you, while utility billing conversations can sometimes be frustrating and tricky, because that's the nature of it, right? You're charging somebody money, they don't want to pay, it's sticky. Don't withhold information from the tenant, especially if you know that your processes are legit and valid. If a resident wants to see a total water bill, show them a total water bill, okay? If a resident wants to understand the allocation equation, call your utility management partner, call me, and let me explain it to them, okay? Because it is within their right to know. So, thanks for asking awesome questions. I realize this video went a bit longer, so thanks for sticking around. Our goal is to bring value to the multifamily industry, and this is one of the ways that we are so privileged to do so, by answering y'all's questions. So you keep asking, we'll keep answering, and until next time, bye guys.